Hey y'all, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It may be because I've never really liked group stuff from like when I was a kid, like group projects at school. Um, there was always people that would put in more work than the other people. And then, depending on how the grading system worked, somebody who basically did no work, just my stuff here, would get credit for everybody else's work. The thing is, I don't know if you guys have been following Reddit, but there's been some type of cyber attack either from the inside or from the outside of Facebook groups today. Groups that are set to public and set to closed, that have public exposure where you can see the links to groups, somehow have been exposed to automatic deletion off of Facebook. Now, this is different than, say, somebody who leads a hate campaign and has their followers go and report pages and groups for their activity. My whole thing is, even for me, in a group full of racists, if they're doing that stuff in a secret group and I don't have to really be exposed to their levels of disrespect, and they're not advocating violence against people, just their beliefs that white is right, that's their belief system. So I'm sorry, my nose always starts itching right when I go on Facebook Live. I don't know why. I'm not doing any drugs like that or anything, so I don't know why my nose is itching. But maybe it's because I kind of like straighten up a little bit and you get the dust in the way or something. But in any case, you have a situation where, and I have to look over here to read the comments, you guys. So if I'm not responding to your comments, I'll let you, know, in a minute. Because I want to talk and I don't want to concentrate on comments because I'm just taking a quick break and customer could come into the store at any minute. Excuse the background. This is our work classroom area of the store. Melissa, hey, cuz I got the chair. I don't know if you heard me last night. So in any case, but from the very beginning, and sometimes when you hear about these random attacks, because this definitely seems like hackers. I was starting to think, especially based on I had a little bit of time this morning when I was in the bathroom to reply to certain things in groups that I rarely go into. But good groups nonetheless, the ones that I am in, I like to be a part of because they're very good to learn from. But some of these folks in these groups, and I found this out, this has really little to do with magic and more to do with human psychology. You got different types of group members. This thing always falls during Facebook videos. Now I definitely think it's a spirit thing because it fell last night during Facebook Live. Ain't nobody mess with the baby gate. So in any case, you got the real know-it-alls who just know every situation known to man, or, I've been in this group forever, we've talked about this ad nauseum. And of course, because of those conflicts, Facebook did put in a search feature. But not every time a question is being asked has that person not utilized that feature, or have they found what they need. I think that most of us read the rules for the groups that we're in because we really want to be engaged. We don't want to get kicked out for the most part. We're not there to troll or any of those things. So I think most people know about that. But if you don't, there's a search feature in all Facebook groups to see about different conversations that you've had regarding the topic. In fact, there's a search feature on Facebook, and that's why I'm able to go and pull up, like somebody asked me about Sage. There's differences between Sage 2, and I'm going to write about that at some point. But I can go and pull up the posts that we've had where we've all had these conversations on Sage and we've learned from each other. Facebook is just a big group, okay? But then I'm in this one candle group, and the passive aggressive shade that some of these people be throwing is just out of control. There's this one woman who, I'm going to call her Becky, who every time somebody black or white posts a candle that they've made that has herbs and roots infused, she goes through this whole big tirade about how herbs and roots are flammable and you're gonna set your customer's house on fire and you're gonna be sued. And I'm sitting here like, and so, you know, being the voice of reason as somebody who actually makes these types of candles, and I've had to do R&D because, like, when I made my first fixed votives, way too many herbs and roots. That motherfucker was you can create a fire hazard, but I asked her, I'm like, but wait a minute. You know, she talking about herbs and roots and essential oils. That's another thing. This group is really kind of ignorant about essential oils because essential oils do go into fragrance oils along with a lot of other things. In fact, if it's an all natural fragrance oils, it's made up of a combination of essential oils and a carrier, which most essential oils also have in them, to create that fragrance oil. These people ordering from the candle companies thinking that this alcohol-based fragrance that they're ordering is less flammable than an essential oil. I don't see how. So every time she posts about, oh, you're never supposed to put herbs and roots and candles, I just post, people have been doing it for centuries. I say it again. Every time you say this to somebody in this group who is trying to make candles and they're putting, I mean, they got all kind of shit on candles now, y'all. They got cupcake candles, they got confetti, they got all kind of shit that they put in it on candles, but you don't never see this woman hollering about anything but herbs and roots. So she's probably an uber Christian and she knows people are practicing magic. This person made this amazing, beautiful candle with herbs. It looked like honey. It looked like there were like little bee figurines in there. I don't know. It wasn't for magical purposes, but it had like lemon or orange slices, probably lemon slices that had been dehydrated due to their coloration, you know, stuck on the sides. It was stunning. And anybody that does candle work knows that herbs can catch fire. Okay. You know, I teach how to avoid candle fires and explosions with, you know, Botanica style candles. You know, you just got to keep the herbs away from the wick. And I don't know how many times I have to say it. I have burned hundreds of these candles without incident. Okay. Usually it ain't the herbs and the roots is what causes maybe a candle to crack. But even that being said, there are warning stickers that we put on our candles. A candle in it. I was just like, so what are you trying to say here? Because those things are flammable. A candle is flammable. Wax is flammable. Fragrance oils are flammable. The fucking wick that you use to light the candle is flammable. That's really the idea, you know, behind a candle flame. And I'm sitting here like, there's a whole lot of things you can say about candles and candle safety to ensure that whoever is making or using them is doing them correctly. But to just, you know, and I would hate people to see that in, you know, especially people who are magical. And that's another thing I always put down. That's a damn magical candle right there. That's real magical. I love that. Now, whether they know what I'm talking about or not is left up to the imagination. But I think Becky does. And Becky just don't like the fact that people are putting herbs and roots in their candles. But it's not just magical groups, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today. So here we have these candle groups. Photography groups. I used to have, especially, I was pretty much only in Black photography groups. There were a couple commercial ones that I was in, but I just really loved looking at what we were shooting. And so I've had to tell a couple of the brothers in that group, misogynists, you know, look, you know, you're great with your Photoshop and retouching skills, but I promise you, you know, trying to, you know, cap on people or insult your intelligence. I said, I promise you, I can meet you anywhere, anytime, mano y mano, straight out of camera, shoot in manual. Do you know how you shoot in manual on a DSLR? And blow you right out of the water. So sit down. So what I'm finding more often in a lot of these groups is, magical or not, is a lot of posturing, and a real waste of time. That is why in my customer group, we just kind of like talk about maybe what a client wants to do with their magic if they choose to discuss it in public. Otherwise, they contact me privately, or they have a situation and then me or one of my homies that admin and moderate the group, I want to buy something. I got this situation. What do you suggest? Which formulation? But even that, I really did the group not so much for informational purposes, but to share a place for customers to come and do product suggestions, be privy to special sales. That group is not designed to teach anybody anything. And one of the things that's great about that is then the other people in the group don't feel like they have to spread their knowledge or lack thereof. It's just less problematic for me because I don't want to have to police people's crazy ass posts about the crazy ass shit that they're doing in magic, because the reality of the matter, we tell people about picking up unfamiliar spirits, following the rules of ATRs and any other initiated religion, respecting the deities, the ancestors, and the culture that created those religions. I do that for my page. I do that in my store. I do that in my classes. After that, if you ask me, because if you don't ask me or if you don't say anything to me, I ain't gonna say shit to you. But after that, what you do is your business. And I think that we have this really big problem of really not even knowing what lane to drive in. And I can kind of understand that based on Ohio drivers, because these folks on the road don't know how to stay in their lanes. But I think that as we've gotten more with social media, especially the younger generation, it's really easy to be that internet thug, especially when you're a half a world away from somebody. You're not really counting on them showing up on your porch to beat your ass. I caught my 3-day Facebook ban for threatening somebody. I guess it was a threat, but to me, it was an invitation. You want to talk all this shit on the computer? We don't need to do that. You got a beef with me, you need to say so. And that's a lesson that I have to keep teaching my kids, because they have a millennial mindset. So one person will say, well, my friend told me that you was talking shit about me, and I don't know what the problem is. But instead of saying it to the person they thought, and my girls, to each other, they bring it to me. And I'm like, that don't even sound like the other person. What are you talking about? Why don't you go ask that person? And so, people have a lot of things to say about me. And it is not, y'all have to understand, it's just not because of the store. It's not just because of the website. It's just not because of me being outspoken on certain issues within the community. When I first got online and I was in these conjure groups, you would be very surprised how vicious and nasty people are to a newbie. It's really fucked up. You also are always surprised when people do not know the major players in these games, because, all of life, this entire matrix is a game. And so I always made it my business to kind of find out who I'm talking to before I start talking to them, because I have made the mistake a couple of times by having either a less than desirable interaction or even a rather pleasant interaction. I didn't realize the gift or lack thereof of the person that I was speaking with. Kind of reminds me of the time I was standing next to LL Cool J in LAX. I'm 3 months pregnant. I was still straightening my hair. I had a bob, but I got caught in the rain, so I kind of looked like Sideshow Bob. And I had on flip-flops with these big-ass daisies on them from Old Navy, some cut-off shorts, and a fucking tie-dye shirt, because I'm traveling for business late on a Sunday night. I used to do training for the people at the LA Times when I worked for the Tribune Company. And I'm traveling with my boss, who's also Black. And after a while, I looked at dude, and I was just like, we stood there forever because we was waiting for our luggage. And I'm looking at him. He's laughing with his wife. I don't know what people look like. I'm standing next to Destiny's Child one day and didn't realize who I was standing next to. And then after about an hour of standing next to LL Cool J in the airport, my boss finally gets her bag, comes back to me and says, "Don't scream." And I'm like, now mind you, I'm 32 years old at this point. And I'm like, why? She's like, "We're standing next to LL Cool J." Now she's in her 20s and is my boss. And I was just like, oh, okay. But I'll think back on that as an adult, you know, as I've gotten older, and I thought, man, I missed a real good opportunity just to like talk to somebody who's fairly famous, who I like their music, just to have a, not a, "Oh, you're LL Cool J, can I have an autograph?" No, "Hey, dude, what's up? Yeah, isn't it bogus? We're like waiting for our luggage," and just see where that conversation goes, because that's how you develop relationships, and that's how you make friends, and that's how you get something. Okay. And so often, and I think it's a lost art with everybody. And I don't think this is a young person's thing. I think this is a technology thing. And I'm sorry, y'all, I can't read your comments because then I'm going to be looking over here the whole time. But I do think that we miss out on valuable relationships when we, or get entangled in relationships with people who are really just trying to try you. Because I had to tell that woman in the candle group today, I said, "I'm peeping your low-key shade and your passive-aggressive thing." Well, if you were intelligent, and any idiot knows I'm not going for the bait. I got money to make today. So I told her, based on her low-key passive-aggressive behavior, that we weren't going to have this conversation today. But I told everybody else in this group, I was like, you want to make candles with herbs and roots, you work out, find out what works, find out how to do it right, just like you would research what wax is best for a pillar, or how much oil you put in percentage-wise to your wax for candles for fragrance. And it is because we do put herbs and roots in the candle, for example, that I don't put a lot of oils. We put oils, essential oils, in the herb and root mixtures when we make them, and that's it when it comes to making these candles. If you want to put some more oil in your candle, that's your business. But you do have to have a balance of these flammable objects in your flammable candle. You got to act like you have some damn sense when you are doing anything, especially things that involve fire. You know, there have been several times I have done a fixed candle, and on my way to the fireplace, you know, the herbs have shifted because I'm walking and they've gotten too close to the wick. And all I need to do is just take a little skewer, and I like to repeat my intentions and incantation and fix them to where they need to be. You know, some people who do magical workings will also work on the candle a little bit more as it goes down. They might add some more herbs or roots. They might put a little bit more oil in it. They might take a look at what's forming in the candle while it's burning. I'm one of those types of people, I like to leave it alone, but when I put it in the fireplace, I want to make sure that it's set up right. I won't leave candles burning here in my store. This is a commercial environment. More people's lives are affected than just mine. So I set my lights when I do them for clients in my home. I can bring them into the store when they're done. I can read and divine on said candles once they're finished, but I exercise candle safety, and I teach a lot about candle safety in my candle magic class, because I've seen people lose their lives fucking with fire. I've seen little kids burn themselves up. My friend lost her son because an 8-year-old was playing with matches, and he was 23. He was upstairs asleep. Everybody was. So things happen. But I want people to be encouraged. I'm just listening to make sure nobody's coming this way. I heard a delivery truck. I want people to be encouraged. I want people to understand that people are going to tell you. I mean, if I listened to people, I wouldn't practice magic. Oh, that's dangerous. Oh, you should have heard my goddamn family. You got to be careful what you let into your spirit. And I realized that my entire life, I was fucking with the wrong group of spirits. I wasn't fucking with spirits that really had my best interest in heart. And that includes human spirits at the pulpit as well as their cavalcade of deities, which ain't that many in Christianity, but you get what I'm saying. So, you know, if you listen to people and their bunk ass warnings, or people who jump the gun, who act like they know something when they really don't, you can miss out on a lot. You know, that being said, I want to talk to y'all about some candles I got, which I want you all to think about when you're buying candles for magical purposes. And this is from an occult retailer who shall not be named. I got it, and the tip was broken as hell because they just wrap things horribly. There are certain things I can't order from them. But look at where that wick is. Y'all see that? Can somebody tell me what's wrong with that? Anybody know anything about candles? Can you tell me what the fuck is wrong with that? So I'm gonna have to email them today, because I teach in candle magic. You want, when you're buying your candles, you want to make sure that that wick is dead center, whether it's a 7-day, whether it's a figaro, whatever it is. And then what you want to do is at the bottom, you want to make sure that it is dead center coming out. That's another reason why we're going to pour all our own candles. Unless I can order them from people who are reputable, like Misty Mystic, and my wholesalers that I work with, I'm going to pour them my damn self, because this is fucking ridiculous. This will cause your candle to burn wrong. Now, mind you, this ain't no herbs, this ain't no roots, this ain't no oils. This is a fucking wick that's damn near, it's worse than, it reminds me of an ectopic pregnancy, because it's sitting outside of where it needs to be. You know, it's like, what the fuck is this? You know, this is bad. So when you go in occult stores and you're buying candles from people, you want to look for that type of stuff. Is the wick centered? What type of materials work better in what types of candles? For, you know, figaro candles, as I was saying you last night, soy and soy mix, they're okay. But remember, soy has a lower melting point, okay, than paraffin. Paraffin also burns much cleaner, okay? You can get paraffin lamp oil. In fact, most lamp oil is paraffin. You can get, you know, paraffin stuff for your hands. That's another thing about making candles. Your hands feel so good if you get some of that wax on it. You know, just make sure you don't burn yourself. But the paraffin in and of itself just feels good. And they have paraffin wax treatments. You know, there are things that you will learn as you go along about the things that you create that will make you hopefully rise to the top of your market. And that is also involves a certain level of risk taking and testing things before you send them to customers. There's not a single thing that we actually put on our website that we didn't test before we said we were going to use it. You know, I've used every single one of my formulations for a variety of reasons. I've looked at the shelf life of particular things. I make sure that if something does, because it's all natural, like on the herb and root section of the store, goes bad, I get rid of it. When you can't smell an herb or root anymore, it's dried when you get it. But if it has no smell, and that's why I do not buy rosemary from any of these companies, because I feel like they're putting essential oils on them, because when you get the rosemary, it's cut into these little bitty pieces and it looks dead. You know, I prefer to grow mine or find it dried in much better condition than I've purchased from some of these places. Same thing goes for lemongrass. Oh, especially lemongrass. I don't think we sell rosemary, because you can get that in the grocery store too easy. But lemongrass, I go to the international grocery store. We chop it, we dry it, and we have to, and the drying process takes a very, very long time, because I've had a situation where I've tried to hurry up and get something out to a client just because they need it right away, and didn't allow that lemongrass to dry completely. And the client ended up getting bags of lemongrass that was moldy, even though it felt dry to the touch. When I tell you it takes weeks for me to be comfortable sending out lemongrass that we've dried to a customer, I mean it. But when you get it, you can be assured that it was purchased fresh, that it was cut, and that it was properly dehydrated. in order to try to preserve as much of the plant's cachet as possible. But in these Facebook groups, you will see people who really believe in certain things that can actually be dangerous to your spiritual and physical health, or things that being made a big deal out of that really aren't. But because people have had whatever experience they've had in it, they've decided that they're the self-appointed expert in said whatever. So, if you've ever been that, especially if you've been a new person in a group and you've ever had somebody like make you feel small because you asked a question, or because you didn't know something, or because certain assumptions were made about what you do, you people internalize too much of that. Okay. Yes, Ty, I see you said yes. Lobbed off to the side. Where's the wick weight? I don't know, y'all. I don't know what the fuck they did with this. And, I don't even know if this is worth the argument with that vendor. I just know better. It's one candle. We can melt the wax back down. We can actually use it. We can make a candle with it. We're just not going to sell this. I wouldn't sell this garbage to even maybe an enemy, but definitely not anybody that I cared about. And I care about my customers. So I'm not going to sell it to them. So yes, lemongrass. Yeah, lemongrass, drying lemongrass is tedious. And especially if you get the ones that they sell in the Asian grocery stores, they have the very, very thick stems. And even my students who have come here, you'll know that because you bought it at my encouragement, because it's so nice. You can cook with it. It's really still got its flavor, and it's really nice and spell work. Not like some of the stuff that you're seeing in some of these stores. So, I kind of laughed when I found out today about the whole groups being randomly deleted out of no fucking where. Because I'm sitting here thinking, oh, this is Darwinism at its best. The herd is being thinned. The sad part is that there are probably some really good groups out there that have been affected by this. I've had to take my customer group secret rather than closed. I don't like secret groups, only for the reason that if you're not that person's Facebook friend, you can't add them. And we ask people not to add their friends to the customer group because they have to answer questions. Often when you're invited to the group, you don't see the questions, or you don't answer them, so we don't approve you. So this is very problematic. I think there needs to be maybe a change in the way settings are done on Facebook groups. Like, somebody can invite that person, but instead of them getting an email that says they were being invited, send them the email with the 3 questions or however many questions to get in the group. That way, when they open their inbox or their notification, not only can they see they've been invited to the group, but the group has requirements for admission. Wow, there's a concept. Let's do something that makes common sense. And so I have these spurts and bursts when I've got time for groups. And those spurts and bursts get to be less and less. There's a lot of times that I go into these groups and I see some of the most fuck shit. And I even get customers writing books about their personal lives in my group, and I don't have an answer for them because, number one, I really don't think this is the place for us to have that conversation. Number two, I don't really know what question you're asking. Maybe you're just trying to tell people about something you experienced. And, free country, fine and good, but there's not a lot of value in that, and you have to value your time. We spend a lot of time involved in endeavors that take us away from the stuff that really matters. So like, for example, I told you guys about this guy thinking that a yard jockey was a great find and how he was going to repaint it and put it in his yard. And the yard jockey was painted black, and everybody that had some sense was like, you probably don't want to paint him black, kind of make him racially ambiguous if you're going to put him in your yard. And everybody's like, oh, that time has passed, lay off, everybody's so sensitive. And it's just like, I just left the group. And then a friend of mine added me to a Black Girls Who Garden group, and I'm at home and I don't have to worry about somebody praising somebody for putting a yard jockey in their yard. And guess what? They can have all their Becky and Buff feelings in their group, and enjoy themselves and their commonalities. And they can, I don't have to be offended or bothered, but I don't have to fuck with them either. And I think that if more of us took that rationale when it comes to dealing both on and off the internet, I don't have to fuck with you, just don't fuck with me. I think that it will be a better place. And so basically, if somebody's saying something that I feel I can contribute to from an intelligent standpoint, like if this person's scare tacticing people in a candle group about using herbs and roots and candles, when that's very much part of our practice, and I know she's not correct, I have matter-of-fact, calm ways to tell somebody that's not true. Herbs and roots have been used in magic for centuries. What are you talking about? I didn't even ask her what she was talking about. I made the plain comment that herbs and roots and oils have been used in candles magically, probably before her fucking bloodline started, but I didn't tell her that either. See, there's ways you can go and talk to people and get yourself in trouble, none of which I did, and still get the bullshit back about if you were intelligent. What, because I'm a witch, I'm not intelligent, because I'm a voodoo sant and I practice magic, I'm not intelligent. Don't take the bait, y'all. Life is too short. It's getting beautiful outside. And you don't need that type of negativity in your life. So say what you got to say. Don't continue arguing in groups all day long. And just do you, because I promise you, whatever you're arguing about in a group, you can take that time and use it for study or for work or for whatever to improve yourself on that topic, or if you know enough about that topic, a myriad of others. When you see people are just want to do scare tactics or want to fight or want to openly challenge and insult your intelligence, there is no rule in the history of the universe that says that you have to stand there and take it. Walk away. And that's, every now and then I go through my list of Facebook groups and I'd be like, what the fuck is this? And I delete them and I keep it moving. Even if there are people who are my friends who are the admins, I'm not contributing. I don't desire to contribute, because if I had to say something, y'all probably wouldn't like it anyway. So, and stop the groupthink. When you want to do something and you want to be inspired, well, there's Pinterest and other things like that, but sit down and draft an idea of what you want to create. Each one of my logos was created by the owner of the Voodoo store. And I just told him what I wanted to create. And he put it right there on paper. So even if you don't have graphic design skills, you may have a concept that you want to create. And you may be able to hook up with some people who can make that reality happen. So, and don't share all of your ideas with everybody. By the time I've shared an idea about you, I pretty much have done the R&D, have done it before, or it's a modification, but I don't put stuff out there that I haven't tested or that I don't understand, because I think that's irresponsible. And that's with anything. I always tell my daughters, especially my oldest daughter, just don't speak yet. Just stop. Think about how you are articulating what you want people to know. Not just that. Stop and think about how you are articulating how people perceive you. Do they perceive you as a dingbat, or do they perceive you as somebody who has some sense? So that's what I meant by my status about don't let your response be controlled by someone else's words. It's so easy to get taken off your square. And that has been my biggest character development, I think, in the last decade. And I'm still not good with it all the time, because even though I say things, sometimes I'll be like, I'm about to start some shit. And my daughter will be like, don't do it. And I do it anyway. But I do that less and less now, because time is valuable, you guys. People that you love, they die every day. People experience loss, hurt, pain, disease, hard times. So when you get, in a good space, don't put yourself in places and spaces where you're not needed, not wanted, misunderstood, or treated as less than intelligent. You're too good for that. Love yourself, spare yourself, and start removing yourself from spaces, places, and people that don't mean you no good. Y'all have a nice day. My break is over, and I got to get back to work. Take care.